Hey guys, what's up? I'm Arthur here, and welcome back to Let's Play Fire Emblem Path of Radiance. In the last episode, we pretty much finished up what we needed to do in Gallia for the most part, and now we are headed off to Benyon, escorting Lindsay there, because while we did take her safely to Gallia, the treaty between the Bjork and Laguz really only exists within the royalty, so to the commoners it would appear rather strange at best. So we need to take her to Benyon, which is another Bjork area, and see if we can't figure out some sort of protection and way to get back Crimea from there. So before heading off, we see Ranulf once again, and I believe he gives us something pretty important here. Something that will definitely come in handy very, very shortly. Anything? Yep, when we use the word human, it means similar to when they call them subhuman. So yes, in this game, it is actually an insult to be called human. So, why is he really here? For Lindsay, of course. We have a gift from the king, which is a bunch of money. 20,000 gold. You heard me right, 20,000 gold. And right now, since he's a little bit ashamed that he can't provide any actual support, he's going to instead give him the gold. And he also says this is somewhat of a payment contract for the Grow mercenaries. I was about to say, no, please take it. Please take it. That will definitely come in handy. So they do not have any ships here. So we're actually going to have to go back into Crimea, which is of course occupied by Daean soldiers, in order to get a boat. But there's really no other way around it unless you wanted to walk literally the perimeter of Tellius, pretty much, which would kind of be a pain. So, and actually you'd have to go through Goldoa, and Goldoa is an area that completely blocks off anybody that is not a Laguz dragon. They're kind of tribe that stays to themselves, so even then we wouldn't really be able to do that either. So, and the one other thing they give us here in a second is they give you Leith and Mordecai. None of the others could stand the idea of traveling with you. I'm surprised you could, Leith. They can't, yeah, I was about to say it's an order, so. Now we actually have Mordecai and Leith to use in full, unlike the last chapter where they were kind of other units. At this point in time, they are going to be relatively overpowered. They're still usable, but they are relatively overpowered, and as such, they're not going to get as much experience from fighting right now. So, use them kind of like Titania, except know that they're actually usable. I usually do not use Mordecai, though. I will use Leith, but I'm not going to be using Mordecai. Summary of the last battle. As you can see, we have plenty of new allies. We've gotten Leith, who I'll be using, Mordecai, and Mr. and Rolf, who I'll both be using, and Marcia. I will not be using Mordecai or Marcia, so. Nobody fell. Got some bonus experience somehow. Plenty of combat experience. Now that we've gotten that 20,000 gold, we have plenty of money for anything you might actually need at this point. You've got plenty of money, well equipped to buy whatever you might need for your units. So, let's go ahead and start with the conversations. Hello, random soldier. Yes, this is once again, if you can't already figure it out, they're kind of trying to burn it into your brain that the Bjork and Laguz do not get along, and even when they're instructed to get along, they still have tension between the two, unsurprisingly so. And then you've got Marcia here. Yep. And as a Pegasus Knight, yeah, Pegasus Knights are known for their movement. Pegasus Knights are a very interesting unit for me. Like, some games I find them really good, and some of them I'm not a big fan of them. This is a game that I'm not a big fan of them, because I know while they have great movement, they are rather frail. And if there's an archer anywhere nearby, you need to keep them way away from them, because otherwise they're going to be in serious trouble. My decision wasn't based solely on my desire to pay. That is actually true. You'll find out why later on. Well, she's also searching for a missing brother. That's also part of it. There's one last piece that you'll get later on. Yeah, she was trying to track him down. His name is Makalov, if you want to keep an eye out for him. He's an interesting character. And yes, of course, we will run into him later on, but don't expect to see him for a little while. I think chapter 15 is whenever you find him. Meanwhile, Leith is stuck here, a little bit depressed. So this is something that they mentioned is, even though a lot of the Lagoos do not like the Bjork, they don't mind the tools. If something is actually worth using, then they will use it. So they're not 100% all about the whole pride thing. And then she's like, this is a ridiculous conversation. I'm done talking to you now. And then she leaves. Alright, what do we got now? Ike and Titania support. I learn a lot when we team up. You learn how to be a meat shield? Awesome. More like a meat head. Yeah, so not much on story there. Mist and Rolf. You're pretty much guaranteed to get an A support with Mist and Rolf. Like, just naturally, it's gonna happen. Even though Rolf is not somebody that needs healing 24/7, it's probably going to happen naturally unless you force it to be an A support with somebody else with Rolf or Mist. I love that line. I kind of wish he had actually done that. It would have been pretty funny. Yeah, you could kind of see a little bit of difference between the two. Mist was absolutely terrified to be on the battlefield, and Rolf was a little bit nervous, but he's actually kind of getting used to the battlefield as well. And I believe, yep, that is it for now. Okay, let's see what we got here. It's been a while since I played, so I'm actually kind of going through my stuff. Ike looks fine. Titania looks fine. Soren looks fine. Reese we're not using anymore, so we can just give all of his stuff up. And that was the last chapter we're really going to use Reason. I might keep Boyd's stuff around. He might be used for a couple more chapters, maybe. We'll see how many units are allowed to be taken to this next level. Oscar looks fine. Whoa. A little bit of slowdown or skip from my CD right there. Mia looks fine. I am going to give this to the Convoy, the Talisman, because that is a stat boosting item, and right now I don't want her to use it. Ileana looks okay, but I would like for her to have an extra spell if we can get one in the shop. If there's not one there. Yeah, I don't think she's going to need the second Thunder spell, because I believe Elf Thunder will come up relatively shortly. But just in case I can't find one for another couple chapters, we'll take it anyway. Remember, Ileana's designed to be like really, really high damage because her magic stat typically grows pretty high, so that should be perfectly fine. Mist is fine right now. This is an interesting bit of trivia. I don't know what happened to that arm scroll. It might be in here, it might not. I might have used it on Rolf already. No, it's still there. Let's trade this over to Mist very quickly. Interesting bit of trivia, though, is you cannot use the arm scroll on Mist, because while it would normally give you a weapon level up, for whatever reason, staves do not count. Maybe this is because staves are not an actual weapon per se, but they still get weapon level up. So, kind of an interesting fact here is, in some games, like Radiant Dawn, the sequel to this game, staves can actually technically be used as weapons. Like, you'll actually counterattack with them, but generally won't do any damage. But you can't in this game, so I guess it's not technically considered a weapon, and therefore you cannot use the arm scroll on it. It's just kind of an interesting little bit of trivia. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the Convoy for now, though, because I think Rolf's at... No, he is still at E. Okay, well, then let's go ahead and take it out of the Convoy and use it then. There we go. Now he'll be able to use steel weapons, because that'll take his weapon level up to D. So he'll be able to use steel if he needs to. Okay, Leith, I am going to use you, and very quickly, let's switch over to Mordecai. And and switch over that Laguz stone. I'll explain how the Laguz units work when we actually get into the chapter, so for now I'm not going to worry about it. Just note that if you're only going to be using Mordecai or Leith, then you want to have the Bjork Guard and the Laguz stone on one of them. If not, you can pretty much just leave them with what they have. The Bjork Guard is actually a very useful item that basically, whenever a Bjork unit attacks somebody, if they do damage, it's going to take that attack and cut it in half. So it can only be used by Laguz though, so Mordecai, Leith, and any other Laguz we might run into that will join us. So it's a very useful item. This is probably one of the better equip items that you'll find in the game, so if you only plan on using one of the two, then yeah, definitely keep it on one of your units. Let's see, Marcia I'm not going to be using, so I'm going to give all of her stuff up, even though she doesn't really have that much. Rolf, do we have any extra bows? We have a steel bow. I don't think he's going to be using a longbow, but I'll give it to him anyway. And something else that I did not give him in the last level that I should have put on Boyd at the start was the Archer Band. So I'm going to equip that right now. There is no Laguz Band or anything like that, so you don't have to worry about that. Mist doesn't have one, I don't believe. Convoy take, Soldier, Knight, Pegasus, Priest, and Thief. She doesn't qualify as a priest, she's technically a cleric. Priest would be what Reese is, so not quite the same. Mage Band can't be put on Ileana because it's already on Soren. She's got the Sword Band. She's kind of low on vulnerary uses. That's the one last thing that I usually check, is make sure that everybody's got a healing item. You are going to have to equip a healing item on Leith and Mordecai, or Leith or Mordecai, because neither one of them actually start with one. And while they're probably not going to be taking any hits early on because of how good they are, or if they are, it's going to be pretty minuscule, go ahead and have it there just in case. You never know. And it'd be better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So aside from that, everybody looks good. That's not what I was trying to do. Out of curiosity, is there anything in the shut? No, not really. Okay. I could show what a pure water does, but I'm not going to, because I was about to say Laguz are in particular weak to magic. I talked about this in a previous episode, but for now I'm not going to worry about it. As for forging, Rolf's got a pretty dang good bow, if I recall. Yeah, that's pretty good. So I think we're going to leave him with what he's got. And that looks relatively good. Skills. I said in that previous episode as well, oh no, I already gave Mist Miracle, there's another miracle in here. Okay, I'm actually going to put that on Rolf, because Rolf's relatively frail right now, and I do plan on using him, so later on this probably won't matter. Once he gets to Sniper, he's probably not going to get hit by hardly anything because of how high his dodge will be, but that is something that could be useful for him. If you don't want to put it on him, you could put it on Soren, but there is another skill in particular that I am waiting for to give to Soren that is a very good combination with Adept, especially in this game. So, award EXP. Let's see, where are we sitting right now? Ike's pretty close to maxing out at 20. Oscar's pretty close to maxing out. We actually don't have an item to get him to the next class, so I'm probably going to leave his experience as is, and once he gets to 20, I'll either let him go to the next level or just leave him as is at 20. Soren, I might as well go ahead and get you to 14 at least. Don't even bother about giving bonus experience to Mordecai or Leith. As I said, they're already quite overpowered at this point in the game, so don't worry about that. Mia's actually looking pretty good as is. I'm probably going to dump most of this into Rolf and Mist early on. Later on, it's going to be mostly going to Mist. Oh, what is that? Are you serious? That's disappointing. I'm a little sad he didn't get any points in that. Come on, something better. Well, skill and speed, that's what archers typically need. I would like the point in strength. I might actually go ahead and give him, if we have one. I don't believe we do, actually, so I'm not going to worry about it if that's the case. Nobody else is close enough to level up to get, a level up to actually get them to the next level. Out of curiosity, do we have one? No, we don't. We have Seraph, which is plus 7 health, plus 2 speed, plus 2 luck, and plus 2... I was really hoping we had a strength booster, which I think one shows up in the next level, so it's not that big a deal. That is kind of a shame, though. Even though I said I'd go over the stats later, I am going to go ahead and go over Mordecai and Marcia. Well, no, I went over Marcia's before. I'm going to go ahead and go over Mordecai since I don't plan on using him whatsoever. Leith I can talk about whenever I actually get into the level, but with Mordecai's case, we're probably never going to see him actually do anything. He's going to be benched for the entire game pretty much, so Mordecai, as you can see, is technically a beast tribe unit. To be more particular, he is a tiger. Leith is a cat, so they actually are different even though they're labeled both beast tribe. So let's move on into this. Demi-humans who can transform into beasts. They refuse to fight in their human form. Well, it's not supposed to they refuse to fight, as they don't have any ability to in this game. In Radiant Dawn, they can counterattack, but it won't do that much. His strength growth rates are as follows. HP 150%, Strength 65%, Magic 0%, Skill 55%, Speed 50%, Luck 40%, Defense 40%, and Resistance 20%. So, he's pretty much a physical tank. Let me go close it up. He's pretty much a physical tank. He's going to have really high HP, strength, and defense, so he can take a hit and fire back. He is limited to a transformation gauge, which is this thing at the bottom right here. I'll explain that when we actually get in there. So, after 5 turns at most, it's going to force him to revert back into the form he is currently right now. He's also got incredibly low resistance, so he's going to be really weak to magic attacks, in particular fire magic, because of the bonus damage. He's not as consistent as you would actually hope by those growth rates. He's decent, and at this point in the game he is powerful. I've also, despite the fact that it says speed is 50%, I cannot get his speed up to save my life in this game. I've used him 4 times, and every single time, within a couple chapters, he can't double attack anything, except for, of course, knights, which have stupid low speed anyway. But the fact he can't double kind of ruins him a little bit for me. So, kind of a shame, but at the same time, you know, I guess that happens. It does suck that it happens, but I do not like using him for that reason. Early on, like I said, he'll make a fantastic tank and wall if you need him to. Just remember that if he is in the beast form, even though he doesn't have a technical weapon, the claw is automatically equipped on him, so they can never be unequipped or dropped, and they never wear out either. There's no chance of it breaking whatsoever. So, if he is transformed and he gets attacked by somebody, he is going to counterattack them, and early on, when you get him for the first few levels, that's more than likely going to kill them. And by more than likely, I mean it's pretty much guaranteed. So, let's see, Marcy I already talked about. We don't have anybody new. I talked about Mist and Rolf in the last chapter. So, that looks like all we need to do. So, let's go ahead and save and start this chapter. This is a very interesting chapter. I like this one a lot, too. This is a very interesting one. I'll explain it when we get in there, but there's actually something really cool about this next one. It's the fact you actually don't have to fight in it if you don't want to. I am going to fight in it, for obvious reasons, when we get in there. After his father's death places the mantle of leadership on his young shoulders, Ike agrees to continue as Lincia's escort. And you get that really cool-looking picture of him. That is the Benyon Empire. As you can see, it's freaking huge. It's like literally 3 times the size of any of those other countries. The company now heads for the Benyon Empire, the oldest and largest nation on the continent of Tellius. Yeah, you don't say. As Crimea is a former... Oh, that looked like a completely different word. Fiefdom of Benyon. I read those F's as L's. The princess turns to them for a succor? No, not really. They turn to them for help. As much as a sacred child... Wait, sacred? Oh, a scar. Good gosh, dyslexia, what is going on? Much as a scared child returns to a parent. Oh, good gosh. Many in Tellius believe that without Benyon's might and influence, Crimea's reconstruction would be nigh impossible. Pretty much right. However, Benyon and Gali have no diplomatic ties and are further separated by an impassable mountain range. Really, they are? So, the company is forced to return to Crimea, where they hope to locate a ship to carry them to Benyon. So the path we're taking is up through here, getting out of Crimea as quick as we can, and going around. Like so. Hey dude, what's up? Accompanied by Renulf, the warriors volunteered to guide them. The company leaves Castle Gallia behind. With heavy hearts and wounded spirits, they begin a long march back to Crimea. Gotta go through this again. Hey, I called up a moment. You know, I was thinking, since the castle's in the way, we should probably stop by. Any particular reason? Cantia's castle Dane seized early on in the war, now it serves as a camp for prisoners. Even heard there's a number of Crimean retainers being held captive in the dungeons beneath the castle. Yeah, I was about to say, so what you're saying is if we can rescue them, we might have a couple that will join us. And that would definitely come in handy, so, worth the risk, we decide to head in there. Okay, I think we get the layout now. Also, if you can hear that lawnmower in the background, yeah, somebody's being annoying. I don't know why. My neighbor has this really weird thing where he has to mow his lawn once every other day. Like, you know, every other day. So, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and so on and so forth. So the question is, how do you open these cells and free the prisoners? With brute force. The cells are certain to be locked, so in order to open them, logic would dictate the keys would be in the possession of the jailer. We've no choice but to steal them. If we're lucky, the guards will have keys as well. In either case, we must move with caution. We don't want to trade blows with the entire castle. Well, of course we do. We can take them. So what they're saying right here is if you stay close to the walls and avoid being seen or heard, you can actually get past them. That is actually true. You are able to rescue all the prisoners and leave this area without actually entering any battle. And there is a way to do it. I will probably explain it at some point, or I'll put a link in the... Actually, that's probably what I'll do. I'll put a link in the description to a spot that will show you how to get through it. A lot of it involves using Marcia because of her high movement. But you don't actually have to fight anybody in here. However, it's a good experience. There's some good treasure chests you can pick up as well that you will have to alert the guard for in order to get those 4 in the top left corner. So I do plan on absolutely going into the fight. And who's this guy? He says he has business with Grail. Grail is dead, dude. I'll speak to Sir Grail and Sir Grail alone. Now take me to him. What you ask is impossible. Commander Grail is dead. Sorry about that cut. The lawnmower got really irritating. It turns out that that was actually my dad mowing the lawn, even though he knew I was recording because he's heard me for a good 20 minutes. So, yes, he is doing this entirely on purpose, and yes, it is incredibly annoying, because I told him beforehand I was going to go record. So, yeah. So, this is Volk. He's in intelligence. Yeah. So, Sir Grail hired Volk to investigate something. And 50,000 gold is the price. Yeah, that's a little bit steep. So he is willing to pay, and yeah, if Grail hired him, he obviously must have had some good reason. So maybe that's what Grail was planning to do when he got there, was ask for the 50,000 gold so he could pay Volk, but he never quite made it there. Oh well. Until then, we'll have him travel with us. So that's the plan. So he's not going to wait around until then. So just let him know whenever you've got the gold. Stop in any tavern along your way. Tell the barkeep you're in need of a fireman. You'll see me within an hour. Jeez, that's kind of creepy. So is information the only thing you sell? Exactly. Can he open locks? Yes, he is. Volk is in fact a thief. He can open each lock for 50 gold. This includes the doors. This includes chests, which you'll be seeing a lot of them throughout the game. We've only just met him. There's no telling if we can trust him. So, you've got one of 3 options. You can either hire him, don't hire him, or seek advice. I would obviously say your immediate choice should be hire. If you want to seek advice, you're not going to get much help. You can talk to Soren and Titania about it, and they'll both give you conflicting arguments. Titania will say, I think trusting a man who we know nothing about is dangerous, so she is against it. Soren, however, is agreed with it. If we want the cells open, the risk is going to be inevitable. Also, the chests. You want to steal the keys, it will reduce the risk and improve the chances of rescuing the prisoners. It's worth a shot. And, of course, as usual, Soren is right. So, you do want to hire this guy. If you choose not to, you will actually not get him. And in doing so, you're not going to be able to get a lot of the treasure chest for a little while here. So, definitely hire this guy. As long as I get paid, I've got no complaint. And, of course, Titania's like, you know, if you decide on something, I have no choice, because I'm not the leader. So, Renil takes off. Yeah, he's not going to bother helping. Much as he would like to do, he's got a job. So, he heads off, and we begin our fight. And we are back. For you guys, it's been 1 second. For me, let's see. I was recording at about 5:30 when my dad decided to mow the lawn, and so I decided, okay, I'll just wait a little while, and whenever things quiet down, I'll start recording again. He has finally gone to bed 10 minutes ago, and it is 1:30 in the morning currently, so it's been a little pause. I apologize for that. No, I did not die. I would actually own it if I did. I did not die. In fact, I had to wait quite a while for things to quiet down, but now that things are quiet and you will not be hearing a lawnmower in the background, let's actually continue with the mission here. Alright, choosing your units. We've got 9 to select. Ike is a requirement. If you're going for everything, Volk is a requirement as well. Just barely, but he will be a requirement. And I'll explain why he's almost not a requirement. And then it's whoever you want to take. I'll not be using Reese or Titania, so that opens up 2 more slots. And I will be... Ooh, that's actually a tough choice. There's one person we're going to have to cut out. Unless there's somebody I'm not seeing here. Yeah, well, no, Boyd. Boyd. Yeah, we don't need Boyd. So we took out Reese, Boyd, and Titania and replaced them with Mist, Rolf, and Leith. Now you'll notice that they're actually kind of scattered on the list here. If you actually exit out and hit choose units again, all the units that you're currently using will be at the top and all the other ones will be at the bottom. So you can also check their, I didn't talk about this earlier, you can check their levels, you can check their stats, you can check what they have, like, you know, equipped, other things like that. You can check their critical rates, movement, constitution, weight, etc. If anybody's carrying them or if they've got some kind of status ailment, you can check it here. You can check out what their weapon levels are. Yeah, I know, this is very, pretty crazy. The con right here, this actually shows if a unit can have a conversation with another unit in the chapter, it will be displayed here. So Oscar can have a conversation with Kieran, who we've yet to see. Ike has a couple conversations. As you can see right here, you can see what the skills that your units have are. And yeah, that's about it. There's a lot of stuff you can go over in there, actually. Reposition. For the record, if you are going to activate the fight in this level, make sure a couple units up here are ready to wall this area off, because there's going to be a couple units that will come here. 2 Myrmidon on each side, a knight, kind of like this guy. Well, this guy's a general, but a knight, and also an archer. So just be prepared that they will show up. So what I'm going to do is actually... See, Mia's got the armor center. Okay, so we'll leave Mia there. And... Oh, that's a tough call. We might just have them hang back here for a bit. I don't have a lot of good frontlining units, and after a while, I'm not going to be able to use Ike, because once he's at level 20, we'd be wasting that experience, because his class change is story-based, not based on getting to level 21. So, I think we're going to leave it like that for now. I'm going to move Leaf out in front here, just in case things get really bad. UMAP we don't need to do, items go back. Okay, it looks like we're good. So, let's go ahead and start. Now, before we get into anything actually here, it's time to actually sit down and actually talk about the actual Lagoos, actually. Yes, I did that on purpose. Now, Lagoos units, as you can see, Leith, right here we have a cat. This one, belief says they are nimble fighters whose speed in battle is unsurpassed, which, as you guys already know, I'm actually very big on using speed, so that's why I chose Leith over Mordecai. I'll go over her stats shortly. I'm going to talk about how the Lagoos works. Now, as I already mentioned, whenever they are transformed into demi-humans rather than the actual beast themselves, they are not able to attack. In Radiant Dawn, they have a very weak counterattack, but in this game, they have no attack. So as you can see at the bottom here, we have the transformation gauge on Leith. Whenever this gauge is full, the unit will, it says can transform, they will automatically transform, and when it is empty, the unit will return to human form. The Lagoos Stone that I gave her earlier will automatically allow her to transform into her Lagoos form, and it will bring the gauge back up to 20. So if you're in a really tight spot and you need to transform immediately, you can use one of these. I'm probably going to hold off on these unless something seriously bad happens, otherwise I'm probably going to try to avoid using them. Another good reason to use Lagoos is obviously their movement is 9, which I believe right now, not even Oscar can compare to that. He'll get 1 more point in movement when he class changes to Paladin, but she's got the best movement by far right now. I'm not sure, I think Marcy would also be at 8, she might be at 7, I'm not sure. But very good in that department. Basically what will happen is, as the Lagoos unit is a demi-human, its transformer gauge will gradually go up, and once it gets maxed, it will transform. Once it is transformed, it will slowly start going down, and things like repeated battles, so if you get in a bunch of fights in a row, it will decrease more. At the end of each turn that you're still a beast, it will also decrease, and once it decreases, then you'll go back into the demi-human, and you just keep repeating that cycle over and over. In addition to that, I don't think this matters here. Yeah, this is the unit's race. We already know that they're Lagoos, not Bjork. Her attribute's Heaven, which is a very interesting attribute to have. There's something interesting I'll mention about that too, as well, the attributes. It's not anything to do with the supports or anything like that, so... let's go ahead and go over Leith's bio, now that I've taken more than enough time. Leith, as I mentioned, is a cat. She starts out at level 3. She is going to be overpowered at this point. As you can see, her stats complement her abilities quite well. High strength, high speed. There's not really any stat that they lack in, with the exception of magic, which who cares? Once again, the resistance can sometimes be a bit low, but right now 10 resistance is actually pretty high, so that's very nice for her to have starting off, because I believe Mordecai had a lot less. I think he only had 4. Her growth rates are as follows. HP 130%, Strength 50%, Magic 5%, Skill 65%, Speed 70%, Luck 50%, Defense 40%, and Resistance 25%. So she's got very quick transformation times. She is obviously able to transform at the start of a battle immediately, which is very helpful. Obviously she can only stay transformed for a few turns. She's almost always able to do double attacks because her speed is pretty high. Some other stats later on, pretty late game, might be a detriment, such as Strength. Her defense is relatively low, but she's got pretty high speed, so she's got pretty good dodging as well. She's got very high HP, as you've already can tell, so she'll be able to retain a decent amount of damage. So if trained, she's actually very, very good. She's able to last for a long period of time in battles. Very rarely will she get hurt by anything seriously. Keep in mind that with Laguz, each one is different to, or is weak to a different type of magic, and we'll go over those whenever we find those units. In the case of the Beast Tribe, being both the cats and the tigers, they are weak especially to fire magic. They take bonus damage from it. In addition to that, since we've got him on the field as well, Volk. It's kind of a shame about Volk, really. He is a thief unit, which means that he uses knives. As you can tell, if we go to an Iron Sword, let's go find Ike. An Iron Sword has a power of 5, and this is a very basic, weak weapon. The knife that Volk starts with has 2. Yeah. So, unfortunately, Volk is not going to be used for attacking hardly ever. His ability comes from his skill. As you can see, he has the ability to both pick locks, both on doors and on chests. He can also steal items from foes if and only if his speed exceeds whoever he is stealing from. So, I'll give you a good example here. This guy right here has a speed of 12, he'd be able to steal from him. But if it was somebody with a really high speed, like 15 or 16, he would not be able to. And you can only steal things that are not equipped. So, like, for example, this Myrmidon has an Iron Sword, but it's equipped, so you can't steal that. You need to look for something like this guy right here. He's got a low enough speed, you could take away his Steel Lance if you wanted to. That'd be pretty suicidal because that's the boss, but you could do it. So that's how his ability works right there. You can also see right here, his skill will allow him to wield knives, and this is where steel comes from. But he also has the ability to pick locks, being a thief. His stats are as follows for growth rates. HP is 65%, Strength is 50%, Magic is 5%, Skill is 55%, Speed is 65%, Luck is 35%, Defense is 20%, and Resistance is 10%. The unfortunate thing that comes with Volk is he's a very decent unit. He just gets restricted by the fact that knives are very, very weak. There are stronger knives later on, but they're not that much better. So because of this, even whenever he's got cap strength, he's really not that good. He's basically a really frail swordsmaster with weaker weapons. His picking skills with the ability to pick locks is very, very useful. Remember that he will charge 50 gold per lock, and this will actually be taken out of your amount that you have, so just fair warning about that if you're really, really strapped for funds. So, for the most part, you want to take him into levels that have chests and what have you, but when it comes to fighting, don't bother. Like, seriously, do not bother. He does get a class change. It is actually story-based as well. He's very important to the story, as you can tell, since Sir Grail hired him. That's obviously a sign right there that there's going to be something pretty important. Aside from that, that's pretty much all we need to go over. There's no new units here that we have not talked about. I talked about the other new recruits in the convoy, if you didn't check that, since I'm not using Marcia nor Mordecai. So, let's go ahead and get this started.